Okay, so welcome to the efRouting platform. This is what you'll see when you first log in. This is our main dashboard. So you'll see there's a lot of different things to click on, and you'll get to understand more about what this dashboard is doing for you later on in other videos. But for now, I'm just going to take you straight into searching for loads, as that'll be what you're going to be most familiar with coming from other sorts of load boards and platforms where you use to find loads. The difference here with efRouting versus other systems, other platforms, other load boards is that we really focus in on helping you make better decisions on which loads to focus on by using our analysis of the market and our algorithms to then tell you, based on today, based on this trailer type that you have and where you're coming from, these are the recommended lanes for you and where we see people performing the best on the market right now. So what you'll see when you first get into the load search and you punch in the city that you're coming from with the trailer type you have is recommendations for where to go. And these are based on three factors that we have here on the right. They're scored out of 100. They're also color coordinated, which you can pull down and see that menu showing you how the colors relate to the different scores. But essentially it's just telling you that for each of these lanes, we've scored them based on how much potential there is to make a profit. So looking at what people have been actually getting paid for that lane in the last few days versus the mileage, assuming your cost per mile is close to the average, then we give that score there. And then ease of booking is just a score given based on the competitiveness of the market in that area. So how many trucks are in the area, how quickly loads are getting posted and then being booked. And then the last score here, lane connectivity, is essentially just telling you an idea of what the future will look like for you once you get to that destination in terms of finding another good load out of there. So we want to be making sure that we're going to places where we're going to get loaded out of and not having to deadhead out of or have downtime while we're waiting to find a load because there aren't many. So that one's important as well. So with these recommendations, you have a quick idea of, if you don't have any interest in going in any particular direction out of Atlanta, you just want to make a good operating decision, this is a good place to start. If you have more preferences on where you want to go or how you want to operate, you can change these recommendations. So instead of looking at just the recommendations from the system based on these scores, you can look at what are the highest paying lanes. So highest revenue doesn't mean highest profit. These are paying well because they're higher mileage. But in the end, you're not going to make much profit based on what we see out there on the market. You can look at lanes that are just longer driving times. You can look at shorter driving times. You can just look at what lanes are going to get me into a place that has the most connectivity to other good lanes. You can also sort through and remove lanes that are in regions that you don't want to see or focus in on just a certain region you want to get to. Same for states. And finally, if you want to look into the future a little bit, you can quickly see wherever that destination is, what the options might be once you get there for the next lanes that you'll have the ability to book into. So if I'm in Atlanta right now and I decide I want to think about going to Warrenton, Virginia, but first I want to think about what my options will be when I get there, all I do is come over here to this button, next lane. I'm going to see the lanes out of Warrenton, Virginia. So then I have an idea if I were to go from Atlanta to Warrenton, my next options will be places like Boston, Lewiston, Albany, and then maybe going back south to Savannah, Tallahassee. So that just gives you a quick idea of what that option would be like for you. Also, if you have an idea of a destination that you want to compare, you can just type that in here. And now it's going to add that and give it some scores. So you can see that in comparison to the other lanes. So I typed in Chicago. So Atlanta to Chicago, it doesn't look as profitable as these other lanes. It's paying around less than $1,000 for 745 miles. Of course, there are a lot of loads from Atlanta to Chicago, so it will be pretty easy to book one of those loads. And also, of course, once you get to Chicago, you'll be well connected to other lanes. But if you can't get high enough revenue for that lane, then you're not likely to make much profit. So it might be a better idea to think about these other recommended lanes instead. Finally, after you've considered this analysis of the market and where you might want to go, you can punch in up to 3 destinations into the search bar here and click search. And now you've got a live load board view. And in the next video, I'll show you how this load board works, all the details of it, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so now we're looking at the live load board view after we've gone through the search function, determined up to 3 lanes that we want to see loads for out of Atlanta with a drive-in. Now I'm looking at live loads. So let's navigate around this and understand all the different features here. So the first thing you'll notice right when you do a load search is this button pops up, and this is telling you the amount of money people are getting actually paid for this lane. So this is giving you a range because we want to break it down into the top versus the bottom tiers. So the people getting paid the most in the last few days have been getting paid $2.22 per mile or more versus $1.90 per mile or less for the lowest paid carriers. This is specifically Atlanta to Warrenton. I can look at Springfield, or I can look at Waynesboro, since I also have loads there in this search. I can remove that here. Also, you'll notice it says powered by Truckstop. So that is because I have an integration with my Truckstop load board subscription. And that's something that is offered to all Truckstop Pro users. We have a bundle subscription deal with them. So if you have Truckstop Pro, you can get efRouting at a discounted cost. And then they provide you with an ID number that you plug in here. And then every time you get on efRouting, you now have access to all of the loads coming from Truckstop in every search that you do. Next thing you'll notice are these filters here across the top. So of course you want to filter load searches by pickup date to see the loads that you're thinking about taking on a given day. You can also restrict the brokers that you want to see when you search for loads. So if I don't work with these brokers, or if I don't want to see those loads, I can have that list saved, and that list will be saved every time you do a load search. You can adjust your deadhead miles. You can adjust which states you want to see loads going in and out of, which at this point you already know generally where you're going, but in case you're doing a search around an area that goes between close to other states, you can sort those out here. Also, you can sort for just loads that are for team drivers if you want to do that. And then you can also sort through and remove loads that are over a certain weight, under a certain weight. All those different filters you can adjust here as well. And then of course you want to be able to see the newest loads posted first. You want to see the loads that have been posted with the highest rates. You can also adjust to see loads with the longer or shorter distances, things like that. And then once you want to see more information about a load, you just click on it and it pops up with a page here on the right. You'll see more details about that load, the post ID, pickup time sometimes gets posted. And then you also have information about the broker, their days to pay, their contact information. You can also check their government website page. And then you'll see this button for booking assistance. So if you want to move forward on trying to get this load, you have their phone number and everything here, but you can also click on booking assistance where the phone number will be connected here where you can call from the website. You can also send an email directly from the website. And then you'll also have information right in front of you. If you get on that call and you want to be negotiating better, you have information here about how that load has been getting paid. And then while you're talking with them and trying to figure out more about how much profit you might make, you can play around with this calculating profit tool here and understand what your profit will look like. And then to go forward into the rest of the negotiation and load booking process, we will make another video since we also have part of the platform for handling all of the documents for every load that you want to manage. Okay, so now we want to handle the negotiation and the management of all the documents for a load. So what we can do through the platform is once we've chosen a load, we've gone through the booking assistance and called the broker and established a rate, and they've asked us for the documents so that we can move forward with booking this load. Now we want to bring this into our load document management system. And to do that, you have to add the load to a route. And we'll get into creating routes in another video, but for the sake of this one, I'm just going to create a new route here, straight from the load. Click create, and now that I have that route, I can add this load to that route. And now it's going to take me to the route planner management system. But what I want to do is straight from here, for this load that I've booked with the broker, I want to get into the documents section. So I click on documents here on the right. And now I'm in the document management portal for this specific load. And here, instead of using an email chain to do all the back and forth with all the documents for every load and try to understand at any given point where this load sits in the process of document exchange and invoicing and payment, things like that, you can manage all of that right here. So you can have all of your carrier packet documents uploaded, and you can, for new brokers, submit a request for a broker carrier agreement. And so what will happen, I'm going to change this email address for the sake of this example to an email that I have access to. And now I'm going to request the carrier broker agreement. And now what you see here on the right is a log of every activity that has happened in the management of this load. So it says that you requested a carrier broker agreement. And now if I go to the email for that broker, I see an email from efRouting that this user of efRouting is asking for a carrier agreement for this load. And now I can opt to upload the document, where it's going to take me into a similar load management view where I can review the documents that have been submitted by the carrier. And in this case, I can decide that I looked at the insurance and I don't like it. Your insurance is out of date. I'm going to send that off. Okay, so now back on your view, you now see the problem has shown up from the broker that they saw your insurance is out of date. So you see that that step happened, and now you need to fix your insurance document and request again. And once they approve that, they'll get another email and they can approve or deny. So let's just practice resubmitting. So we need to recycle this one with a different document. And now we can request the carrier agreement again. They're going to get a new email. And now they can approve your documents. And then now it's their time to upload the broker carrier agreement that they want you to sign. So they send that off. That's uploaded, it's being sent, and now you go back to your view and you can see that there's a document for you to download and to sign. And once you've signed that, you can upload that here, and then you can move forward with the next step in the process. So now that's all set up. So now you have the full packet to send to the broker with the carrier broker agreement, all those documents. They now have that. And then after the broker reviews the document that you've signed, and they approve, then the next step of the process is to get to the rate confirmation. And you handle the same process that way. And then same thing, you upload your bill of lading, and finally you have your invoice, your rate confirmation, and your bill of lading that you can then send off to the broker or to the factoring service that you use to get paid. You'll have a full log of everything that happened between the broker and the carrier for that load, and you can keep this history in your portal at all times. And then in the next video, I'll show you how we manage creating different routes and managing the entire operational decisions for a complete route down to every load that you take. Okay, so now I want to show you how you can use the efRouting system to choose one of the recommended routes. And in the next video, I'll show you in depth how to create your own custom route from scratch. So when you go into the route planner here on the left, you get to this dashboard of all the routes that you've managed before. Eventually everything will be saved here for everything that you've done. But the first thing you'll see is the option to make a new route. And like I said, there will be a video for creating a custom route. But for this video, I'm going to show you how to create a loop route, which means a route plan that connects several lanes together that get your truck out from its origin and back. So this would be a good option for planning a trip for a truck for a week, 2 weeks to get out and back to home. So you'll see similar items here asking for the trailer type and the origin city. I'm going to say Atlanta, Georgia is my origin city with my dry van. And I plan on leaving on Monday will be the plan. So then I'll click search. And what the search is doing right now is it's running through the system's previous route searches and also generating new route plans based on the analysis of the market. So this is looking at similar things from that video about the load and the lane recommendations. Now it's taking all of those lane recommendations and it's piecing together complete plans. So you'll see at the start of the list of different route plans, the highest profit potential and the ease of booking options. And for this, instead of ease of booking, it's ease of completing. So that includes other items like total deadhead miles and time between loads and lanes. So for this route here, it's saying that you would leave Atlanta on Monday, take a load to Warrenton, so along the same lines of what we saw in the deal finder, the load lane recommendation tool. So then from Warrenton, it's saying you take a load to Manchester, New Hampshire, and then you go down to Allentown, Pennsylvania, and then you go over to Dayton, Ohio, and then from Dayton, you get back to Atlanta. What you see underneath is the average number of loads that are available for that given day of the week over the past few weeks. So we know on Mondays there's been upwards of 450 loads from Atlanta to Warrenton, and then upwards of 1,000 from Warrenton to Manchester, 820 Manchester to Allentown, and so on. So we know that this route plan, it's pretty easy to complete. We pretty much guarantee that if you have no issues along the way with your truck and delivery times, that you'll be able to complete this plan on time. And you will certainly be able to book loads in each of these lanes. And so this looks like a pretty good plan because it's 5 to 6 days on the road and you're looking at total revenue between $6,700 and $7,200, which is about $1,300 to $1,400 per day. After fuel, you're looking at a gross profit of about $5,000 to $5,700. So this is looking like a pretty good route plan. I want to plan this for my truck for next week. So I'm going to go ahead and click try this route. I'm going to give it a name. And this is going to take us to that view that you saw before of the route planner management tool. So this is where you get to manage that route. So the next thing you'd want to do is do a quick analysis again of this route for its financial aspect. This is where you can include your own operating cost. So what I just did here was I clicked on this icon and now it includes the operating cost per mile for each of these lanes. And let's go ahead and quickly jump over to show you how you can adjust your variable cost. It's something that you do at the very beginning when you sign up, but then you can also go to your home page at any time, go over here to the right, and create new variable costs. And for using standard values, these are just the values that are recommended by the OOIDA. So with these standard values, this is based on what the averages were reported by the OOIDA for 2024. And then you can go back through your own records and adjust these however you'd like to get to a final cost per mile that seems to make sense the most for you. And if you don't feel like going through all your records, but you just have an idea of what your cost per mile can be, the easiest way to adjust that manually is to just play around with this final section here where you adjust your annual wage. So if $1.34 per mile looks too low, let's throw in a $50,000 annual wage. That bumps it up to $1.84. Okay, maybe let's add another $20,000 to bump it up to $2.04. Maybe your cost per mile that you're looking at is more higher than that. So let's just play around with these numbers here, adjust it so that you finally have a variable cost that makes sense to you. And then you can give that a name and set it as your default. And so now every time that you're doing this financial analysis of routes that you're planning, you can easily see that. So now I'm going to see the $2.13 per mile as my variable cost. So that is the operating cost excluding your fuel cost, because that is a separate cost included in the financial analysis here. So if you're looking at the total revenue for this route minus fuel, minus the tolls, and then also minus your own operating cost, you're looking at a profit of around $2,000 to $2,500 for 5 days on the road. That's not bad. So you can also compare this route to the national average in terms of profit. So this route is considerably more profitable than what most carriers are making out on the spot market right now. In fact, if you look at this benchmark analysis, it's showing that more than half of carriers out there right now are losing money on the spot market, which we know the market has been bad. We have heard good things about it improving, but at least for now, from the data that we collect, only above the 50% mark are making any profit at all. But if you use this route and complete it, then you're looking at operating far above the national average. Okay, so now you can look at the operative analysis and look at how many hours it would take to complete this entire route. So for 5 days, you're looking at doing a complete reset cycle with time to spare. So you can have some adjustment in here for delays and detentions. And now that you feel comfortable with this route, you feel that it's ready to start managing the booking process and looking for loads, then you go straight here to the right and click either find a load or report that you've already booked a load. You could also include maybe the load that you've gotten from a private customer, but you can go straight to the load search from here. And this takes you back to the live load board view. And if you remember from a previous video, we were able to add a load to a route. And let's just say we negotiated 1,200. And now it's going to add this load to the route that we have. And now you'll notice real quick that because this load specifically goes to Windsor, Virginia instead of Warrenton, now the route planner is recognizing that there's a slight deviation between the original plan and what has happened. So now it's telling you that this is disconnected. So let's just fix that real quick. And there's different options here. You can say that you'll deadhead from Windsor to Warrenton. You can just replace that lane Warrenton to Manchester with Windsor to Manchester. Or you can try reconnecting the lane by planning some micro route between Windsor and Warrenton. But because they're so close, I'm just going to click replace lane. So now instead of the Warrenton lane, we now have Windsor to Manchester. So that is fixed, and now you can carry on with booking all those loads, handling the documents. You can add a driver here, and if you have the Samsara ELD, you can connect that right in here, and you'll be able to track the truck right from here. And one last thing is, if you open up this map, you click on View Key Points, you'll be able to see more details about this route. So for that first lane from Atlanta to Warrenton, you actually can see all of the truck parking club locations along the way and go straight to booking those spots, which is a cool new feature that we just added. And eventually you'll notice we do some updates soon that will add in fuel locations and hotels and more. You also notice that once you have the driver added with the ELD, you'll be able to track the hours of service and understand along the way where they sit with reset hours, and you can adjust your plan accordingly. And then once the route is complete, then everything will be logged as completed here, and that route will remain saved in your route section of the platform for you to review any documents in the future.